And we are live. What's going on, everybody? It's
Hey,
Monkey
folks.
Business, which means that it's me, Adam, from Highly Articulated, as well as
Brick something.
Brick. What's going on, Brick? How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a while.
It's been literally hours since we've chatted on a live stream.
Had a wonderful morning talking Mythic Legions, and now I'm having a wonderful afternoon talking Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, two of my favorite toy lines. Let's go.
The chat is already hopping, which is great. Silver K is here. Nolan is hanging out. Star, a lot of repeat offenders, a lot of sort of regular names in here. Thanos Copter is here as well. Let's see. Scrolling through. Ray Paz is here on time. Congratulations, Ray, you did it. I'm giving you a hard time, Ray, but you're here. You're here all the time. It's just a matter of when you get here sometimes. Sam Rock, and I know people are busy, right? So Thanos Copter. Did I already say hello to Thanos Copter? GL Shaw, which is Greg Shaw, aka Tora Nerd on Instagram. Stay tuned. Remember that name because we're gonna come back around. Endless Fables is here as well. Again, if you don't know that name, you will soon enough. Because we're going to be looking at a few customs, some toy photography. We're just going to have a good time talking about how much of a good time you can have with Animal Warriors of the Kingdom figures.
That's right.
Brick, I know that you've dabbled a little bit with some of the toy photography with the AWOK stuff. You get a little bit wild sometimes. Now I put these photos out of order, but I'm just gonna I'll bring this one up very quickly.
So I had Brick Gone Wild in my brain. Yeah, Brick's Gone Wild.
This is Brick's Picks. This is one that you did for a pop and swap video that you did. So a bunch of apes in a hot tub.
Entirely too much work for a thumbnail. Yes, that's exactly what that was.
Fair enough. And I've got one too. This one's mine. So there's a weird thing going on here where, you know, we do a lot of these videos together. We talk about AWOK, we do other people's channel videos together, and we have a weird similarity in terms of what we do with our custom pictures and stuff like that. So anyway,
because it's Animal Warriors and you want these guys to relax a little, you know, they're intense on the battlefield. It's just like, yo, go to the sauna, go to the pool.
That was my thought exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where like you can't be you're always a warrior, but you can't always be in a war, right? You want to relax once in a while.
That's right.
You gotta like recoup. You gotta take some time for yourself. So, you know, obviously, I think, you know, you'd find these guys hanging out in pools and hot tubs and just enjoying themselves, right?
I just love the shot of the three of them hanging out, though. They're just like one side, like, oh, hello there.
You work hard, you play hard, right? But we have a very special guest who sort of asked to join last minute, and I'm you know, spoiler alert, we've been trying to get him on for ages. I'm just going to bring him on. Jason.
Wait.
Oh, hey.
Is that really
how we doing?
Jason? That is Jason.
It's me.
Jason,
I've crawled out of my rock to say hi.
How's it going, Jason?
It's going great. How y'all doing?
Doing great, man. Now, I didn't even think to pull a picture of some of the stuff that you've done, but I mean, like the AWOK to the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom is your line. So, like from a customizing perspective, I mean, the figure is your custom in some respect, but I also know that you like to add a little bit more and sort of put some of that the Motu Masterverse armor on there, do some washes, things like that. So you like to kind of kick them up a notch. As the famous Emerald would say.
So there's a couple of things that I like to do when customizing. There's one that I think is the easiest and it's probably the most relaxing to do, which is just a simple Kitbash. And you know, anyone that's not familiar with the line, you know, we offer figures that come with, you know, a character, but then we also offer the head packs. And so these head packs are what I'm showing off right now. These aren't the heads that come with the figure, but you'll see they're designed to basically make an all new character. So what we're showing off right now is basically doing that. You know, exactly. Those are the headsets. This particular headset is the most versatile because it will work with Cordoon. It'll work with Treyu, and I believe it actually works with one other, but I can't recall off the top of my head. So it's just kind of a fun, relaxing way, and just to make a new character, or just to kind of maybe make an army builder. And then, you know, these characters or the figures themselves have a bunch of interchangeable armor and stuff. This particular one's got armor molded onto this part right here. So does this one. But, you know, we sell the ancient figures that you can essentially pop off these arms because they're the same color. And then you got, you know, a naked bicep right there if you want to do it. So that's just the very basic level of customizing stuff. But we've seen a bunch of fans that are doing really cool paints where they'll do like a full paint, completely paint the body different. I think it was this figure. They completely painted the body different. They did a dry brushing, and then they painted the armor different. So it's really up to your skill level or what you're in the mood for. Like sometimes, you know, I'll just do like a full repaint of a figure that I'm like, you know, I'm not going to pose it much. I just want something that looks cool and it's on the shelf. So I'm not necessarily worried about paint rub. And then other times, like something like this, I'll be in the mood to kind of like play with the figure, maybe bring it to conventions and let people feel the toy and show it off and be like, oh, by the way, this is an additional headset that if you want, you know, if you want to make something like this, we have those headsets over there. So, you know, that's just using all of our official parts. But there's all kind of fun stuff you can do. Like, you know, I saw this figure super cheap on Amazon. It's a Fortnite figure. And we just, you know, I just used one of the adventure. I mean, I'm sorry, the feral feline headset comes with this head, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of fun, you know. So, you know, essentially, it's about having fun, and you know, you could do different things to challenge yourself. This is very basic. It's just a head swap. Yeah. But then you can go all the way into, you know, painting and adding dry brushing and adding a wash if you want. So a lot of it's just finding how you can work this new toy line into your existing stuff. Like you had mentioned the Moto stuff. You know, I've used armor and weapons on Moto. I've even used it on some Halo figures. You know, like so there's all kind of fun uses with our part catalog.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, you mentioned the headsets, but there's also, you know, the weapons packs that are available now as well. And then very, very soon, there's going to be the armor packs, the armor sets as well. So, you know, between the ancients, which are the basic bodies, plus the headsets, plus the armor, plus the weapons, like, I mean, I mapped it out and with like the Chunari infantry, right? Like if you swap parts from all the different apes,
right,
and then add some weapons, and then I didn't even include the weapons or the armor sets, but you
right,
can have like a dozen unique figures where like you're gonna have like similar, right? But
sure,
you could have like a dozen unique figures to build out your army without
exactly.
doing any, you know,
Any
quote
painting or
unquote
anything.
customizing.
Right. Yeah,
Just doing, like
I
you said,
love
the
to
Kitbash
army
part
build
swap stuff.
figures. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I stepped over you there.
No, that
You
was
know,
jump in.
I finally started doing a little spring cleaning and reorganizing my toy collection, and I have a whole bunch of GI Joe or Cobra blue shirts, and I say a whole bunch, but it's like 9 of them. And if you stand them all next to each other, they all have something that makes them look unique, you know. So like it's just little part swaps and stuff. And so I had all that in mind whenever we made our army builders. You know, I think the Chunari is probably the most popular, but I've taken little parts from the head pack. I mean, from the armor pack, the head pack. I have, you know what? I just thought of it. Let me go grab it real quick. Give me 2 seconds. Y'all talk. Y'all say something important.
So did you see that from GL Shaw, the one you just brought up? I had to respond. I said, yeah, that's totally our language, right? You and I
This
coming out
one,
of Lego.
the lines with built-in.
Yeah, I was
capacity.
just like, that's straight up. That's totally like Lego, right? That's how
And
I
Greg's a
roll.
Lego guy too, so like
Yep,
that's
figured.
100%. You know, Greg's language as well. Like
Yep.
you know, it's, and he says it's our common
Yep.
Lego heritage. Like
Yep.
the idea of like repurposing and rebuilding and sort of using the parts catalog.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe it's easier for Lego people. You know, like if you've got a background in Lego where you had lots of sets, but you've actually like used Lego as a system, as it's sort of designed. I think maybe it's a little bit easier for us to kind of pop a head off or pop a
I think
hand
so.
off or change the
Yeah.
armor up or whatever.
I think
It
that's a
might
really
be
good point.
it might be less familiar and less comfortable for somebody that just does action figures, right? Like if you come from like a collecting perspective where like, oh, I buy Marvel Legends, but I buy a new figure every time I need a new character,
Right.
it might be a little more daunting. But honestly, like Brick, you did a pop and swap video. I did a pop and swap video. I'm going to do another one, like just a condensed version. It's so easy. It's so simple. And it's like, you know, yeah, your fingers might hurt afterwards. But other than that, like it's easy and it's fun. And it adds a layer to the line. It adds a layer to your collection too, because you're like, oh yeah, that's one that I had a lot of fun, you know, because it, you know, it should be a Chunari, but it's horrid, or like, oh yeah, that's Feralist armor, but it's on an ape or whatever, right? So you can kind of mix and match with that stuff. And like for me, that's where a lot of the fun is. And the thing is, we talk about like, yeah, you could do 12 of these and have 12, you know, horrid Ravagers.
Yep.
But you could have 3 and make them all completely unique. And just with like the headset, the armor packs, the weapon sets, you know, just make them entirely your own. Like you don't have to get 12. You know, we're not suggesting that.
Yeah, it's like well, we are. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
he is. But I think
don't limit yourself. But yeah,
it's an escalating thing, right? So yeah, definitely the Lego thing. The reality is the system was built that way and was intended that way. So they give you instructions to pop heads off and as well as like create sets and stuff. But then I remember those days as first Motu figures, as those vintage Masters of the Universe figures. You're playing with them, all of a sudden you bend their arm and it pops right out, and there's this big, huge, and you're like, oh, wait a second. Can I do that with the other ones?
Instantly, it's a eureka moment.
Yeah, you're like, oh, He-Man with a blue Skeletor arm. That's awesome. What else can I do? G.I. Joes, not so much. Those took a little bit more work to put back together, but still, once you realize,
I mean, with the vintage G.I. Joes, as soon as you break an O-ring, you're like, well, I got to take this guy apart, I guess, to put him back together, and then you realize, oh, this isn't that hard. I need a screwdriver. It's one screw, and the whole figure kind of like comes apart.
That's what that thing. Hey, Dad, what's that thing that you can I get that thing? And you just start taking them apart, and then you.
I remember, I started to lose interest in the GI Joes, and then I realized when you could unscrew the back, you could part swap stuff.
Yep.
One of the GI Joes that like I just had in my little collection of stuff to fiddle with, I had it into high school, and it was like a 1990 Destro, where he had like it wasn't the vacuum metal, like he had like, you know, you could see the flesh eyes. It was like that head on this Cobra Trooper. I can't remember exact. I think it was a Flak Trooper, but like just like, I mean, I just head swapped all kind of stuff. And speaking of head swaps, this is a super simple Chunari Captain that I made using the new armor pack and then the baboon head from the adventure pack, and like him in my little army. I think my Chunari army's 5 Chunari, you know, so like, but like him in there, like he just really sticks out. You're like, oh, this all looks uniform. You're like, oh, that must be an officer, you know. So it's so fun to just add all those little touches, and it really kind of personalizes your collection, you know, where you're just like, this is my set, you know. So
once you,
and it's fun,
like
you know?
We said, once you start doing it, it's freeing. And then you realize the possibilities. Like to go back to the GI Joes really quick, it was like, oh, I'll take them apart, cool, I can mix them. And then me and my friend one day, like he didn't care about figures as much as I did. My brother was like, no, you take care of these. So like I didn't mess with us, but he was like, oh, whatever, let's do it. So we were melting faces, and it was like, wait a second. Like this could be like a monster guy, and you know, so like it's like, oh wait, what if I painted? What if I chipped away at this and I cut away at this? So like once you get going, you realize, like you mentioned the armor packs, you can do the armor packs, you can cut straps off, get like, you know, there's all sorts of things you can do with that softer sort of rubberized plastic. So
Yeah.
And it's cool because I mean,
I wanted
custom to show as well.
Yeah, let's see it.
Yeah, I want to look at that, but I wanted to see, like the
not mine.
So
but
in one of the head packs, there's basically another pale head, but it's a dark gray ape. But I didn't like that it looked too much like pale. So what I did is just sort of trimmed off.
Oh, that's cool.
The side
I like
bits,
that. And you took the mutton chops off. That's cool.
Yeah. So I left a little bit of it. And then, you know, you kind of mess around with the, like, after I cut it off at the back, you're not going to be able to see it, but when you cut it off at the back, there's that really clean cut.
Yeah.
I then just kind of cross hatched the back.
Oh, that's smart.
A little bit more texture into it. And that's like literally, like, if you've got an X-Acto knife, there you go. You've done a custom head.
That's cool.
Show us your hands. No cuts, no nothing.
What's that?
Show us your fingers. No cuts, no scars.
Not today.
See,
not today.
You can do it safely too. End up with all your fingers.
I'm learning slowly to cut away from myself.
You always cut away from yourself. That's the key.
But you're never as like. You can never get the fine cuts as well when you're cutting away from yourself. It's just a weird. Anyway, everybody cuts themselves. I guess that's the risk with your customizing, is that you're going to draw some blood. But one thing that I noticed on this guy, so this is the Lexion head, the standard Lexion head, and there's a little hit of like gray sort of in there that sort of allows the differentiation between the mouth and the the rest of the head. And what I noticed on the head pack version is that it didn't have it, so there wasn't as much definition. So live, I'm going to take this head and I'm going to take a Gundam panel liner, and I'm going to show you like just what one little marker can kind of do. And it's low definition, so you're not going to see it. And I'm going to go, oh wow, it's amazing, and you're all going to have to take my word for it. But yeah, it's like simple stuff, right? Like I think sometimes people kind of get the idea that like to have a custom figure, you have to like destroy something to kind of like get to the end goal. But
I think it's a good analogy.
Like, there's like,
it's really meant to just kind of, it's meant to kind of bring the character out, you know? So I think that's a good way to look at it, where you don't want to have too much pressure on yourself. And I do notice that like people that want to start customizing, it's like they'll pick their favorite figure where there's like all this pressure on themselves, and it's almost kind of like, you know, for us around Christmas time, I like to buy stuff for Toys for Tots, and it's usually like a bunch of clearance stuff that's still cool, but it's just been sitting around for a while. And I saw a whole bunch of like Black Panther figures, and I was like, these are so cool. Like, this will make great Toys for Tots stuff. And also in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know, this kind of stuff is perfect if you want to like take the pressure off and learn how to do a little bit of customizing and painting without risking messing up one of your prized possessions. So I feel like people should, you know, think about getting something that's maybe $5 or $6. Look at that. See that? It popped great. You know, just pick up something that's going to take all the pressure off, where you're like, listen, I'm going to give this to the dog after anyway, so it doesn't matter, type of thing. And you'd be surprised how freeing that is, where you're like, it doesn't matter, I'm just having fun, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I even showed, there was a young guy that I was showing how to do airbrush tutorials, and I let him do all the steps, because airbrushing is there's like a formula that you follow the steps. And he was doing great, and I was hoping he would mess up at one of the stages, and he messed up, and he was kind of like, oh no. And I was just like, it's not a big deal. Watch, we're going to do these 3 steps again, and you're right back to it. And it's nothing to worry about. Like, whenever I do eyes, I usually put on something goofy. Like I really like to watch or listen to Family Feud while I'm painting eyes, because it kind of like, it makes me to where I'm like not so focused on like the task at hand, where I'm kind of like listening to something in the background, and it almost like takes the pressure off of like, oh, I don't want to mess up this eye or whatever. But I've done it enough times where I'm like, oh, I messed up the eye. That cost me 5 minutes. Like, it's not that big a deal, you know? So,
yeah, that's another thing too, is that I think, you know, oftentimes people, when they get into customizing, think like one wrong move and it's garbage.
right.
Where it's sort of like one wrong move might force you to kind of reevaluate a technique,
Yeah,
or
totally.
kind of go over it differently, or you
Right.
know, that becomes fodder for like, hey, now I want to experiment. I'm going to try something that's a little bit wild and see if it
Right.
works, because this one's already, you know, quote unquote ruined or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to, there is a learning curve. There is a little bit of like, you know, there's a bit of an expense, you know, there's a cost associated, because if you sort of end up with something that's ruined. But then again, like you said, you know, Jason, like you reset. Sometimes you just paint over everything and clean slate, and you kind of take a second shot at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've said that
You
to
know,
anybody that I've ever talked to that's like getting into customizing. I've said, look, you have to understand that the first one's not always going to work out. And
right.
despite what you have in your head, the complete product, like the finished product, might look different. And you have to kind of go into it with an openness to sort of what's going to come out at the other end is going to be a custom, and it might not be 100% of like what you had in your brain.
Yeah.
But that very rarely is the case, you know,
Right.
for anything. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Like I go back to the eyes, because the eyes are, I think it's four steps, you know, depending on what you're doing. But generally what I do is like I do the entire portion black, and then I go over with the white, quote unquote white. You're not supposed to use solid white. It's going to look bizarre.
too
I
white.
use like an oyster white, or almost like a light, you know, it's just a little bit of flesh color in it. And then you do like the big pupil, then you do like maybe like a little reflection, and then you do the little dot in the middle. And usually the step that I mess up on, or that I'm not happy with, is the little pupil. That's very simple to fix. You just kind of, you just do the whole, you know, the pupil color, and then you go back and do the black, and you're done. But I find that's the step that everyone has a little bit of trouble with. And like what I tend to do is like, you know, people think of like, this is the bullseye, you know, and they want to hit like this. What I do is like I take the brush and I hit like this. So like instead of like this, like you've got all this giant room for error, and then you have just this. So it's like way more, it's way easier to line stuff up. I hope I'm explaining that correct. I want to do a video on it just to kind of show people that it's not as scary and intimidating as people make it out to be. So,
well, you know, I think the chat and what you just described is what's amazing about the hobby right now. Is like we have this thing called YouTube and all sorts of tutorials that are available to people, and a bunch of people at different skill levels showing you how it's done. So it's not like, you know, before it's like, oh, I bought this one book, or I didn't have any information at all. Now you can like see people mess up and sort of show you how to fix it. Like you can actually, we're describing it, but there are people who do it all the time on live streams or videos.
right.
And you're just like, oh yeah, okay, you get more comfortable with the notion of it. And then if you like, we're just talking about it, and you're mentioning don't use bright white because it's going to look odd. And then like a couple of people already sort of sharing, no, this is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I do. And it's just, there's so many cool resources, and people are down to help. And then, you know, I don't know, it's a really good time to kind of be into this kind of thing.
It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I like the idea of like challenging yourself to try to bring it back when you've messed something up. You know, when I was working at university, I always would tell the students, like they'd always do like the same class, you know, and I would like, they'd get so stressed out during finals. And I was like, listen, there's two things happening. One, you're basically preparing for a normal work week. Like this is going to be a normal work week. That's one thing. So like be prepared to do this. But after you're done with the final, no matter what, like subconsciously in your head, you're gonna say, I can do it. I've done it already. And like, so the more times you go through that,
Yep.
You're like, okay, I've done this before. I messed up a little bit. I know how to like course correct and do X, Y, and Z. And if you can kind of take that idea over to your toys or your painting, or if you're going to the gym or biking or whatever you want to do, like just go ahead and give yourself permission to make a couple of mistakes and kind of get through the first time.
Yep.
So that your brain will be like, okay, we know we did this already. So let's just stick to it and learn as much as we can through the process and kind of enjoy the process, you know?
Totally. Like, here, one last thing before I guess we move on. Just if you tell yourself that learning is iterative, right? Like, you got to keep trying, and
That's a
with
big word.
every
Can you explain
instant,
that for?
yeah, you do it over and over again.
Yeah.
So and every time you learn something. So if you tell yourself that and you remind yourself that, and just tell yourself the first couple of times I do it, it's going to suck. If for some reason you do something amazing the first time, congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah, you're lucky.
But like, just keep going, because then it's like everything is just going to get better. You're going to figure stuff out. And, you know, we're talking real sort of like, oh, it's making it sound like work. But at the end of the day, it's fun. It really is fun. If you let yourself just like enjoy the process, it's
such a pleasure. I love painting stuff. I can remember
you started as an
whenever,
artist, right? Sorry, I was just
what's that?
Like, when you said that, you start, your background was like as an artist, yeah?
Yeah, I have my degree in fine arts. But even before I started in college, I remember, so this will age me, but I remember when the Metal Gear Solid stuff came out for McFarlane, and it was at that point where I was just like, I do not care. Like, I am nerdy. I'm gonna like collect toys. And, you know, I bought the whole set, but then I noticed that I kept buying the Ninja over and over again. And I was like, this is weird. Why am I like, I was trying to like recreate that like joy of getting that amazing figure. And so I've got 3 of these figures, and then I started painting the figure. And in the game, there was like an alternate that was almost like a Deadpool color. And then so I did that, and I was like, oh, that was kind of fun. And then I did a rusted version of it, and then it just kind of went from there. I just started buying McFarlane figures and doing alternate paints and stuff. And it's so funny because I'm like sitting at the dining room table that I started that journey, you know?
Oh, that's awesome.
So I don't know. I just found so much joy, like, of having this creative outlet that wasn't a lot of pressure. I was like, this is just for me. I'm just doing it just to kind of satisfy a creative itch. So yeah, I mean, it's just, once you really get into it, it becomes a very relaxing and fulfilling hobby, even if you're doing it just for you and no one else ever sees it.
Yep. One thing that I will mention, because it's like we're talking about, you know, the repetition.
I'm sorry, I can't
like
hear you.
The trial and error, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Here's one thing I will mention, because it's this is something that I learned from Gundam stuff. You don't like, we're talking about white, black is the same, right? So if you want to add some highlights, and I'll show you what I've done here as well. So live, I've just done this. It's not hard. It's not complicated. I've just added some color to the lip,
oh yeah, it looks awesome.
Like the crease.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where, you know, it just breaks up that white sculpt a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, I will point out that because this is white, if I had used black, it would have been a really hard line.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing like dark gray, if you're doing a dark gray, so I did with this guy, I actually used black. But if it's not dark gray, use a gray, because the gray will translate better than the black will. So it's just little things like that. Like, don't use white, don't use black. Like, don't think, you can always add more, right? If it's not dark enough, or if it's not white enough, or whatever, you can always add more. You can't, we're talking about like resetting, sometimes fun, and so on and so forth. But like, if you don't want to, like, that's one of the obvious mistakes that I think people make, is like teeth and eyes are white. No one's teeth and eyes are white. Yeah. You know, no shadow is black. Shadows are always sort of shades of gray. So, you know, keeping little things like that in mind. Ray Paz says, would love to see someone do it from step 1, the supply, like all the techniques from step 1, including the supplies. Here's my experience with that. I just watched a ton of YouTube videos and sort of picked things that worked from certain people's videos and certain things that didn't, right? Because the other thing is like supplies is a good example. If you're in the UK, you're going to have very different access to supplies than if you're in the US or even Canada. I mean, we have Michaels, but what we have at Michaels isn't the same as what's at Michaels in the US. So you can't get too hung up on like, I got to get this paint or I got to get this brush or I got to get whatever. The reality is everybody uses what's at their disposal. And so you kind of learn as you go what works for you, what, you know, works in the budget. My experience, cheap stuff works just as well as bad stuff. A lot more of it has to do with how you do it and sort of, you know, like I said, apply a little and go back and apply more if you want to. Because I think sometimes people rush in and they want to, you know, they want to paint head to toe. They want to do a figure head to toe. I would say do a wash first or do a dry brush first, something that's like harder to really screw up. And then just, and, you know, take steps that are comfortable, you know, stay comfortable until you're like, okay, I'm ready to make a big swing and I'm ready to like put a whole layer of paint on this figure or whatever. Because, you know, we're going to look at a couple more customized sort of things. We're going to look at some Instagram pics and stuff like that. Most of these people, this isn't like the first time that they've done it, right? You have to keep that in mind as well. My 8-year-old wants to watch like videos for like how to do like clay thing, you know, polymer clay. She was watching one today about this person made like a crocodile and then there was like an epoxy swamp that it was in with grass and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you're not going to be able to do that from watching this video. You have to watch the basic ones. You muted yourself, Jason. You have to watch the basic ones to sort of get to the point where you kind of advance to that stuff. So again, like I said, get a panel liner, do a black wash, like just modify rather than customize, if that makes sense for like your first attempt. But or just kit bash something, you know, get comfortable kit bashing stuff first, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and GL Shaw pointed out, like, especially if you're working with paints, not so much with markers, but like if you're working with acrylic paints or whatever, keep a wet rag and a lot of stuff you can kind of quickly wipe off too. Like you start to realize this as you mess with the materials, that like it's not nearly as unforgiving as you might think. And I think that speaks to what Jason was saying earlier, like hit up a Ross, hit up an Ollie's, whatever it is that you have, where there's or Target clearance aisle. Or like if you're one of those people who's like, why are they keep giving me like a bunch of hands that I don't use or a bunch of heads? Mess with it. Like just try doing something to it and see what that's like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, alternate heads are again a great thing. Like if you get, you know, an alternate head with a figure that you're never going to use for your display, put that in the fodder bin and just start messing around with it. Like it you know, you're going to be much less worried about a piece that you don't really care about, right? Like if it's never going to be on your shelf anyway, that's where you can kind of mess around with a new technique or like a new color of paint or a new brush or like a new whatever. Yeah, for sure.
And I can't, you know, we keep saying like, check out stuff. Like I learned so much just by watching people from all ranges, but I remember seeing Nikki Nicole do one on one of these. They've been doing these Saturday sort of lessons. I think it was on Facebook, might've been in Wolf Den Customs. And it was just seeing her do like from start to finish ahead. And I have to tell myself, like, obviously she's done it a million times. She's fantastic, but just sort of seeing how someone approaches it, super helpful. And then in the sort of, in the conversation, she's sharing techniques. So a lot of things that people are wondering about, like, you know, a wet palette or whatever. So
yeah, wet palette is one of those things that like I only sort of heard about recently. And I was like, that's genius for people that.
What is that? What's a wet palette? Is that where you're like using the paint to like actually mix on the figure, or?
No, it's like an expensive version of taking your tray of paint and putting it in a couple Ziploc bags so it never dries out. So you don't have to remix colors.
Oh,
so it's just a fancy way of keeping, like, once you mix colors, that you can kind of enclose it and it'll stay sort of like moist and you can reuse it. Because, you know, if you're trying to get that match and you've mixed that color and you're like, ah.
So instead of mixing like 2 ounces of a color, you can just mix on your palette and then it stays there. So you don't have to like spend all day in a session, like for especially for people that like, you know, they're going to do a project over a couple, 3, 4, 7 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you a little bit of a buffer to walk away and come back instead of worrying, like Rick was said, that you're not going to have the chance to have that exact color match, and then when you go back, you're hitting it with something close, but you're like, ah, shoot, I'm starting fresh.
But there's just really cool products now that they sell that really keep it airtight. Like I said, for me back in the day, it was just wrapping up my pallets in Ziploc bags and hoping for the best and hoping they don't crush and spread.
Let me show y'all what I have. Hold on, two seconds.
And yeah, sorry about this audible. I forgot about this, Adam. I definitely will want to show this.
Do you want to do that now, and then we'll get into some of the pictures and stuff that we got?
I sent you the link to show later, but this
I did. Yeah, I got it. I got it queued up for when we sort of want to do that.
This is from.
Let me embiggen you here. Hold on.
Embiggen me like Ms. Marvel. So a good friend, the longest sort of toy friend of my life, a friend that I've a lifelong toy friend, I'll say that. He goes by Imaginary Action on Instagram, and I think Julius Downey, Imaginary Action, sent me this, and I opened it up. I was like, wait, why is he getting me a Cordoon? I have a Cordoon, and I looked at it, and he head to toe painted this, pulled it apart, and went to town, including the hands are painted as well in there, and then packed it up and sent it to me. The weapons got a nice treatment as well.
Wow, that looks amazing. What? Wow.
You can kind of see, from the face.
It looks gorgeous.
He's done.
That's so cool.
And so Adam actually has the Instagram, which would be great to kind of really see those things better than I don't know what this camera can do, but.
So this is the Instagram account. Hold on, let me bring it up here. I thought I brought it up, but I clicked the wrong button. Let's throw it up on here. So this is the Julius Downing Imaginary Action on Instagram, and here is that specific. He does a lot of G.I. Joe stuff, but here is the specific figure, the Cordoon.
Yeah, he popped it apart, and he has a lot of process shots that he was showing me too. But just really highlighting like the great stuff that's already in the sculpt that we don't necessarily see, because I can only imagine how much it would cost to get all those deco hits in there. But really like dry brushing in there so we can see the fur.
It's so funny you say that. I want to jump in. So like when people see figures and they're like, well, why is that figure $90 and this figure is $34? This is why right here. This is like, you have to have artisans recreating thousands of this particular SKU. Yeah. And so whenever someone's like, well, I don't understand why that's $100 figure, this is why. There's so many, it looks like he totally repainted it. Then he did a wash. Then it looks like he did a dry brush, or maybe he did the dry brush, then the wash. I'm pretty sure he did the wash, then the dry brush. So, but I mean, look at the difference, so it's really, really awesome.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure now you have it in hand, Brick. Are like the straps and everything done as well? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit, right? So like, well, first here, you can kind of see I don't know if you can embiggen.
I can.
That's wild. That's so cool. I love it. That is so cool.
Out of the box, out of the customizer's hand, and I can't get this thing. Come on, you can focus.
It wants to focus on your face.
And you can kind of see the
Yeah, it looks like he did a dry brushing to bring it like metallic weathering and stuff. It looks gorgeous. It's really, really cool. I love it.
Versus the flat plastic, and and then the back you can really, really sort of see based on the fur. Again, factory.
Totally.
You can see the armor.
Oh, there we go.
Focus. There's like a gold.
Look at that.
Metallic.
If y'all see me looking down, I'm currently coloring issue 5 while we visit.
But these things are amazing. we know this, but
Right.
what you could do to kind of plus your figures against
Exactly.
it's Cordoon, or you can take it in a whole different direction.
Right.
Yeah,
whatever you wanna
yeah.
do. So this is it's fascinating.
And
Love
that's
it.
what's so fun about customizing. It's like you can decide what level you want to take it to.
Yeah, exactly.
And I did want to show for the
So
folks, like, you can still move it, you can still do everything that
right.
you would do with the others, you know. So
Yay,
anyway.
issue 5. Issue 5 is going to be 24 pages, by the way. So there's
I
just
thought
a
you were gonna
lot
say
going on in
yay.
it. What's
I thought you were
that?
gonna say yay. I thought you were gonna say yay, it's done. I just need to add that little shadow and like
I'm coloring it right now, and I'm coloring it out of order. I did page 10 earlier, and I'm doing page 7 right now.
Okay.
So
Phantascopter says, looking at Jason's glasses for spoilers.
yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to see anything. I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah, what's nice is like right now, even if they could see, it's not. I'm this early in the
not a
comic, there's a lot
spoiler
of
page.
exposition going on.
Yeah.
So it's not a.
Phantascopter, I'll give you a spoiler. I've seen some of the pages. It's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be fun.
I saw some stuff that I was like, wait a minute, how did we get there? Like, what's going on?
Right. Adam saw a bunch of like really out of context stuff, and I was like, listen, this is all out of order and it's not gonna make any sense, but I just want to show you it's gonna be fun, you know.
Tell me this, Jason. Tell us this.
Okay.
Will we feel like something ended and concluded and satisfied in that way?
Yeah, so the way we're structuring it is every 5 issues is going to be a story arc that's that we kind of are considering like a cartoon season. So the main conflict that we presented will be wrapped up, and there'll be like a teaser of a new kind of conflict that could happen whenever issue 6 starts. So you'll be like, oh, okay. That was good, and then everyone's kind of relaxing. You're like, "Oh, whoa, what is that? That doesn't look good. Something's going on here."
Okay.
Very cool. And I mean, I think this is a spoiler that doesn't really spoil anything. There's still in issue 5 new characters being introduced.
Yeah, there really is. Yeah,
new character.
Yeah.
Do we see all of the characters after 5 that have been released in waves 1 and 2?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were asking.
Meaning, like, by the end of issue 5, will we see all of the characters, the figures that have been released in waves 1 and 2?
I don't think so.
As far as like wave 1 and 2, yes, you'll see all the characters.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Adam's thinking Tiberius isn't in there, but Tiberius at this point is younger. What's that?
Lexion.
Oh no, Lexion is the only one that won't be in it. Yeah, he's actually part of the second story arc. Not to go like too deep into the weeds, but there's gonna be a power vacuum created by the end of issue 5. So both good forces and bad forces will be relying on the pirate guild, who controls all the trade routes that are connecting all the different kingdoms. So throughout the second story arc, you're going to be dealing with pirates that you're not sure, like, one time they might be, they're getting paid to do this, and then and so they're on your team. They're like, they've got a vested interest in getting you where you need to go and safely and everything, so they can get paid. And then the next time you see them, someone that's against you or against our heroes might have hired them. So you never know when you can trust them or not. They're just kind of like this chaotic element that's you can't rely on to not rob you or capture you all throughout the second story arc. So there'll be a fun element that kind of keeps the reader guessing, like, oh Lord, is this good news that we see them this time, or is this going to be a problem?
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Looking forward to it.
If you want more about the lore, stay tuned for the release of the comic book, as well as AWOK Talk over on Brick's channel.
Yeah.
That's right.
You guys do such an amazing job. Like it's so flattering and exciting how much you guys pick up on. I wanted to do this particular episode because I am am not a fan of like laying out exactly what I'm telling in the story. I want there to be some interpretation, and I want you guys to be able to kind of make your own little backstory. I feel like that's what made Star Wars so special in between the prequels and the what was it, the new stuff. Everyone kind of filling in their own lore, especially like the Boba Fett, because he just had what 2 or 3 lines in the movies, and it's like you make up this crazy mythos, you know, and then someone else makes an official version that you might not agree with. So one of those things is like I'm set on not explaining too much. I want people to be able to have their own mythos in their head, and I don't want to be the person that'd be like, no, that's not right, you know. So for certain things. But that being said, I feel like it's, you know, it's important for us to let people know what to do with these extra heads and the extra armor pack and stuff. And I see it almost like a writer's prompt, but for the toys. So I thought it was a great time to hop on and be like, oh, hey, listen, you don't have to just use it with your figures. You can use it, I mean, with the AWOK stuff, you can use Fortnite or Moto or whatever you want, you know, whatever's in your collection.
I had a picture. You keep showing that one that with that Fortnite figure. I had a picture, and now I can't remember whose picture it was because I was using another picture of theirs at one point. But they used, I think it was a Kingpin body with a Thane head on it.
That's cool. I like that.
Really, really good.
That sounds cool. Are you coming over here, Cat? The cat really wants attention. Oh my god. Here, look, see? Oh my gosh. You want to get attention? Okay.
That's a nice, like, that's a good looking cat.
Hey Adam, I posted something in the chat that you might want to share because it wouldn't let me do it. But
what was it?
I feel like that would be a good time. No, I'm just gonna have Adam post something into the chat that.
Oh yeah, and yeah. Hold on, because we can talk about this for sure, because where is it? Post it in the comments. Let me post it and then I'll mention it. So I am posting a link, and I didn't ask to do this beforehand. Maybe we should have, but it's on the website, so it's not like this isn't a secret.
No. He gave me the okay for the last time, so that's why I was sharing it last time. So
I posted a link in the comments if you want issue 1 for free. And the backstory to this is the link originally didn't work, and we had to fix that, and we just fixed it a couple days ago. So you were talking about it, Rick, on your show, and I was like, oh shit,
and it wasn't working.
Get this sorted out because people are going to go and try to get this download, and it's not going to work. But we figured it out, you know. And everybody got the issue 1 that put their order in. So I'm, you know, a lot of people, we've said this so many times, right? The figures are cool. But what we've seen in the first 2 waves does not reflect the world that these figures live in. So get that comic book and read it. It's well worth nothing at all to go and download it for free.
We know that you guys are going to like it. It's just an introduction and be like, hey, listen, there's no risk. If you don't like it, you don't have to do anything with it, you know?
Yeah.
It didn't even take up any space. It was just a digital thing in the
yeah.
And then, you know, issues after that, 2 through 4 are available now at $2 a piece for the PDF, like the download version, which I think is an absolute steal. I mean, you're basically still giving them away, which is, you know, not something that we get a lot of in the world. You know, free stuff or next to free stuff is pretty rare these days. So happy to get people into the lore because Brick and I absolutely love it to the point where we've spent hours and hours and hours talking about it. So
that makes me feel good. I love that. You know, whenever you're writing something, you know, it's a risk that you worry that some things that you're not like. I mentioned before, I don't want to beat the reader over the head with like, hey, listen, it was Uncle Ralph on the grassy knoll or whatever. It's like you want to let them kind of figure out stuff for themselves and make their own make their own conclusions about stuff. So like you guys reviewing it and doing all the cool voices and stuff, it was just like, oh my god, okay, they got all these subtle things that I was mentioning. So it's awesome. Like it's a huge relief. Not relief. very. I feel very complimented. I'm sorry. I'm trying to select colors and I'm on the wrong layer, so it caused a brain fart. But it's
I
just very
apologize for
flattering, and
interrupting your
it's
work
cool to know
schedule.
that
We're
you guys are
happy to
enjoying it.
validate. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Let's
Well,
take a look at some customs, and we'll circle back since we have Jason here later and ask a couple more questions.
Yeah,
we'll get
and
him
I don't have a
talking little
ton.
more.
And what happened was I was going through the Facebook group. So there's an Animal Warriors of the Kingdom Facebook group. Well, there's technically two. And what I realized was I was pulling up a whole bunch of pictures that were sort of within a private. It's not a public group; it's a private group. You have to be sort of in the group to see what's going on. So I decided not to share them, but we've sort of talked about enough and sort of covered enough stuff that I think that people could sort of get the general idea. We're going to show a couple things. I'm going to show a couple Instagram accounts for people that were cool with me showing their Instagram accounts, and we'll kind of go from there, and then we'll circle back. And if people have questions for Jason, can we open up some questions for Jason? There's already been sort of a couple people making a couple comments and things like that, but we'll take a look at that in a sec. Here's a very, very simple one, and this is sort of both customizing and toy photographer. So this is Kato from Kato. Kato's got his YouTube channel, the official Animal Warriors of the podcast. Now, I use this without his permission, only because I know there's no way he'd say no, and so that's why this one is technically within the group, but I knew that Kato would be cool with it. So he's got some Mythic Legions wings on the back of a Chunari infantry, and it just sort of has that the flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz, right? Like that was sort of the thing he was going for. Yeah, the music goes through. When he posted this, I actually put in like a little GIF of the monkeys flying past the window. Yeah. Like it was instantly. That was what I thought of. Now, super, super simple, right? Just some wings on the back of a figure, some Photoshop where he's just flipped the monkeys and sort of changed the size to sort of have multiples. He only made one. He didn't make four and pose them all up like that. So what else do we got? We've got... These were just a couple that I pulled.
Oh, those are cool. Again, I haven't seen those.
I love this one.
Pulling in, Mythic Legions and Motu stuff, and just sort of using what you've got. So the one on the left there is basically an Atreyu head on some Mythic Legions parts. It's even a mashup of Mythic Legions parts. But then on the right there, that's Scott Baker's. That he said just some stuff I had around the office. I was like, my office is not as fun as a lot of other people's offices. What I realized.
So the one on the I've seen the one on the screen left before. So that's definitely using it's a head on Legion stuff.
Yeah,
really cool combination of things. The one on the right, I'm trying to wrap my head around because
it looks like a mix between it's a Moto
Rio Blast, right?
It's a Moto, yeah, Rio Blast.
But I'm like, was Rio Blast? I didn't think it wasn't a vest because his torso, unless that's maybe. Classics.
I think it's from the classics where that it was a vest that could be taken off.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, got it. That looks really cool.
Yeah,
it's really cool. I love it. I don't know what the pants are from though. I don't reckon. Maybe that's the Rio Blast too.
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. This is like, when he mentioned that it was just stuff he had around the office, I was like, that's the best, right? Not, I think sometimes we get sort of hung up on we've talked about, right? You have this idea in your head, and if it's not 100% to what's in your head, you feel like you haven't done it right. But I think sometimes these are the best ones, right? The ones where you're like, I got a fodder bin, what's in there that'll fit, that'll work, that is the right color or whatever. And I think sometimes it's just more fun to experiment and just see what works and what doesn't, right? Throw it all at the wall and see what sticks.
Yep.
I got too many tabs open. I'm trying to figure out what. Allison said, yeah, that's the classic vest. Thanos Copter says they are from Rio Blast 2. Yeah.
The legs. Oh, okay, the leg parts. Yeah, see, I had no idea. I didn't have that one. I guess that makes sense because I remember people complaining because the figure has guns that come out of his chest. I guess that's the closest they got to it in the classics version.
It's amazing how hard it was to what's the word? To get a hold of those classics figures at the time. Like I remember getting He-Man and Skeletor. It was like a big deal, you know. But the other figures, like you had to have a subscription to it, and it felt almost like a digital scavenger hunt, you know. Like even if you had the membership, certain figures like Triclops sold out like I think within like 15 minutes. I mean, it's been years. I don't remember exactly, but so now the multiverse stuff being so accessible is a nice change of pace.
Yeah, to be able to sort of see it sort of cross over into other worlds and other IPs and stuff like that too is just kind of a little bit different, a little bit refreshing. Because I think AWOK sort of bridges gaps between a lot of stuff too, where like and again we talk about the lore. It's not a spoiler, but like AWOK isn't just fantasy. There's like a sci-fi thing to it. There's almost like a steampunk element to it, and I think without spoiling anything and hopefully without overstepping any boundaries, going forward we're going to see a little bit more of that kind of steampunk type of thing going on. And I think people kind of get hung up on like the swords that the figures come with, and they're like, what are the guns?
Definitely.
Why do they come with guns as well? It's like,
right.
You haven't read the comic book, clearly.
That's why,
first few pages. So
yeah, we felt like, hey, listen, people need to read the comic book so they understand the sandbox that we're playing in.
Yeah.
The thing that I thought was so, one of the things that was so fun about Moto, and when it first came out, was their freedom to just have fun. And they're like, hey, listen, we're doing flying stone gargoyle vehicles, and we don't give a crap. And like, we're gonna have swords that shoot lasers. And so I feel like they finally worked all that out in the comics, and now they've caught up to it where they're starting to explain stuff. But I had to do some sort of exposition to kind of let today's audience give themselves permission to kind of sit back and have fun and be like, oh, hey, look, there's a dinosaur looking creature in here. I don't understand why. And then you're like, oh, let me go back to page 6 that I just kind of skimmed over, and like, oh, okay, this has been set up to give the story the freedom to do wild, fun, crazy things. So yeah, I mean, that's just one of the reasons I felt it was important to give away a free copy of issue 1.
Yep. That page 6-7 spread, like there's so much in there. Right?
People can skim over it, and then you go back and you're like, what's going on? And you go back and read it, and you're like, oh, it was like slapped right in front of my face.
The building blocks of life from the old world.
Baby.
So, dinosaurs.
That is so cool.
Jesse's custom. So this is top to bottom, full paint, custom accessories on there as well. Accessories that aren't, AWOK accessories. I reached out and said, hey, can I use your picture from Facebook? And he was like, here's all the pictures that I took with this guy. So I've got some extra stuff that might not have even been on there, but this is, again, full paint. So you're going to get the sculpt really pulled out of there, the attention to detail with the paint, sort of getting in between the sculpting stuff. Some of the parts that he used. And then, there's the bio. So again, cool. The idea that there's still room within the lore for more characters and more bios and stuff like this. So this is Kildare.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of these. Like if you're interested in AWOK and you're not in the AWOK group, jump in there, because there's tons of stuff like this. You'll get inspired to do customs. You'll get inspired to come up with your own character. Moving on more so to the toy photography end of things.
Before you do, real quick,
yes.
he was just saying this was such a delight to paint. I want to look at like what was done with this thing, because the fur is not a color that the fur comes in, right? So
No way. Yeah,
it's
it's
the
like this
gray
reddish
body, and
brown.
then yep. Hmm.
It's gorgeous.
So
He
which
did a
base
fantastic job.
is that? The base for the gray Pharaoh Beast? Do you think?
If I had to guess, he
I
probably
think
did the
he's an
Chunari
ancient.
Legionary,
Oh, that
but
one.
I
Gotcha.
could be wrong.
That's great stuff, Jesse. Yeah.
Jesse, what was the Jesse's watching? Jesse, what was the
Yeah.
base? I think you sent me this picture to infer
Oh,
or
really?
imply that I now did I not read it? Did you tell me and I didn't read it?
Very un-Canadian of you.
No, I don't think it was a case of me not reading it. I think it was that you sent me the picture and I just assumed that it was that you used these the primal ancients as the base. Which makes perfect sense, right? Because they're a less expensive figure. They come with less armor, so you're
Yep.
kind of starting off with a little bit more of a blank slate, so to speak.
Yes, he started with the one on the
No, no, no,
left.
no, no,
as
no,
the
no, no,
base.
no, no, no. Cat's biting me. Sorry.
So it's like if that's the case, the gray was painted in, and again, if you look at that gray in his final figure, it looks just like the figure on the right there, which is a oh no, yeah, because that's the one that you're using to show off the armor. Yeah, and so it's like it's a real smooth. If you go to the custom.
Yeah, I can do that. You can do that.
It's super smooth. Like it's on there. Like it's so good.
And I know, Jesse,
that is the key. Is when you're painting stuff, you need to do thin layers.
Yeah.
And I have a special fan set up, and I have a 15-minute timer. I'll do the a thin coat, and then I'll watch. I usually will play a video game or I'll do something so that I don't go and fiddle around with it. And when the timer goes off, then I put another layer, and it just goes by quick. Now, that's for every color except for yellow. Be prepared to do, like, if you're going to do yellow, just be prepared, be patient. It's the most difficult color. It's really translucent. You're going to put a ton of layers, So they just showed the biker mice stuff on Toy Fair. One of them has this yellow belt, and whenever I painted that, I noticed that I got like this little piece of blue on part of the belt buckle, and it took me like 3 hours to finally, like, no joke, like just took forever to fix that little mess up. And I was like, well, I know what I have to do. I just gotta take the time and get it done,
Can we backtrack for anybody that missed that? The biker mice from Mars, you painted those.
I painted them, and I did the packaging design for that.
Yeah.
So I also did
I did Warriors of the Kingdom stuff.
2 characters from the Expanse that they showed off. I think one of them's on. I know. Is it Toy Collector magazine? I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, Toy Collector did. They were on the cover. The biker mice was on one cover, and then they did one of the characters from the Expanse.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when I was talking to them about doing the Expanse stuff, I was like, I have no idea what this show is. Like, so we were talking. I was like, which lady is it? Like, I don't know which one we're talking about. Like, so I had to Google to find out what names and stuff they are. But it's cool to be, to have stuff on both of those covers and to finally get to talk about it, because I did those sometime during the summer. I don't remember exactly when. I think I did the biker mice between waves 1 and 2, where like I had like this little window of, kind of sitting around and waiting after everything got shipped out. And then we know the craziness started after wave 2 arrived.
Don't answer this. I'm going to ask it because I want to know, and maybe we can have another conversation. Sectars? ? Okay, moving on. We'll talk later.
I didn't do anything with Sectars.
Okay, fair enough. Good. Okay, good. I just didn't want you to end up in a... Okay. I have questions.
I don't even.
Moving on.
Are they even out? I don't know anything about. Are they out yet, or?
No, they're coming after. I think. Anyways, doesn't matter. Moving on.
Let's get into some of the Instagram stuff. We are going to start with. He may or may not be in the chat. He seems to always be in it at some point. 1/6 shooter. This is Trevor's.
Oh my God!
Warriors of the Kingdom.
He was.
This is. A lot. I know a lot of people that sort of look to Trevor's photos as inspiration. So I wanted to use him as sort of the starting point, just to kind of look. This is my favorite shot that he did with the Animal Warriors. You know, Vero Atlas backlit sort of through his staff just adds, you know, even more of like a magical element for me to sort of that figure and the translucent staff.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's the guy, right? Brick, you and I were talking Mythic Legions this morning on Toy Connections, and talking about how Trevor's pictures, you know, can really kind of elevate the figures above if you just have them on a plain background or whatever. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even when they're in the product shots on black, they're, again, no disrespect to the folks who were doing their Four Horsemen's photos prior, but they just look so much better. You can see them, the right things are displayed, the angles. But yes, absolutely. The sort of in context shots, both for Legions and now these, man, I didn't know that he was working on these until these got revealed, and I saw those, like, these are great. And I was like, wait a second. Oh, it's Trevor stuff.
That looks familiar.
And
like,
it's great.
This style looks familiar, and these figures look familiar.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so cool. And what's also fun is that AWOK is a very different property. While I think there's some crossover, there's a brightness to the AWOK world that isn't in the same way in Legions. Yeah. So there's very much a different kind of energy coming from his photos for AWOK than
that you brought up something. You didn't directly bring it up, but I feel like it gave me a good segue. I love nostalgia just as much as an ex-toy collector, but I'm obviously biased. But part of the reason why I did this toy line is I don't think that people of our generation understand how incredibly important it is to start putting out other IPs, because we've got another 15 years and our kids are going to be taking over the purchasing power. So we need to start having some other legacy IPs, even if it's not mine. That's not my main motivation. My main motivation is to make sure that the toy market and creative stuff doesn't get too stagnant. There's 2 or 3 big giant studios that are gobbling up all these nostalgia type things, and the original creators aren't involved anymore. So it's not like in some cases you are getting fantastic stuff, but it's not like you're getting the same quality and excitement from those things. And even if you do, all that stuff starts to wear off after a while. Like a tape only stays sticky so after you pull it apart a couple of times. So it's nice to see. I'm just kind of pulling stuff out of the air, but Five Nights at Freddy's was the last big giant thing that came out that I can remember. That was what, like 8 years ago, So it's like we need to take some risk and infuse some new stories. Like, we're all telling the hero's journey. That's fine. But we need to be offering some new stuff. Like, I don't want Star Wars to go away. I don't want Transformers to go away. It's just, we got to have some new stuff that is interesting to us and our children, because they're going to be taking the torch before we know it. We're going to look and we're going to be like, oh, we are irrelevant. Like, our kids are the ones that have all the buying power. Yeah. What's up, Trevor? 100%. Let's see. Yes. Yeah. Trev, I can't wait to show off the new stuff that Trevor's doing.
When we're done, I'm going to ask you, Jason, which one's Trevor shooting right now, because I know some of the stuff that you're working on, but I know that nobody else does. So
I mean, I can say that he's shooting waves 3 and 4, and then he won't get the top secret thing until Monday. So, but I know he's very busy, so I don't know exactly when that'll be photographed. We need it for Legions Con, because we'll open up pre-orders for it at Legions Con. So, latest we'll have to wait till November to see it. But hopefully we don't have to wait.
I can't wait for everybody else to see it.
It is a fun thing. I think people are going to be like, whoa, I wasn't sure about, excuse me, a hiccup. I wasn't sure about getting in on this line, but I need that figure. I know, like, I can use it in a ton of different ways, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to underscore and check mark and do all the things for what you said in terms of like the need for new IP, new stories. And I don't know. I just feel like, again, no disrespect to folks who are collecting as adults and wanting to go back and get the things of their childhood. I totally get that. But part of me, and maybe it's because I did have some of those things, like I had G.I. Joes, I had Star Wars, that like part of me is excited about what I didn't have and sort of like newer IP and newer, not just newer IP, but also like newer quality of build. And, you know, we're saying like paints this morning with Mythic Legions, head to toe paints, like the things that they're doing, the pop and swap that like we were saying I had to like fake and kind of unscrew my GI Joes or pop off the arm. Like this is like, oh, it's built in. It's like my Lego brain is satisfied by these new toys. And so I don't know. I think it's exciting, and it just sort of adds to I don't know, like just the whole nerdiness of like storytelling. I just feel like what, you know, I think that's why Adam and I get to geek out about the comic book, is because one, we keep saying it's familiar. Absolutely. Can't deny that it's not familiar. It has touchstones of things that we all ingested as kids, and now it's in your brain brewing and it's coming back out in this new form. But it's a new form, and it's a different storyteller. It's a different voice at a new point in time where, some of the some things feel familiar, but it's taking us into new places. So, you know, you kind of hinted at that spread. That spread is why we really built that first episode around, and we built that little animation, because it was like, it's sci-fi. Like it starts off full on, like in a jungle, sword and sorcery, we're fighting. Oh, there happens to be a mech. What's going on? And then we peel back the curtain to like this much larger history, right?
Wait, a spaceship? Clones?
Just sets up all the possibilities.
What's going on here?
Yeah, spaceships, clones, DNA infusion, like, you know, AI. And so I think in this day and age,
like what?
What? Yeah, it's exciting. And then now
I basically just kind of, I took stuff that I'm genuinely interested in and just kind of smushed it up, you know, and was like, let's figure out how to make this work.
You had your Pinterest page, and you just shook it all up and kind of.
I can't stand Pinterest. I don't know how to use it. Like every once in a while, I'll stumble across Pinterest where like I am looking to research something, and it'll happen to be like embedded in Pinterest like a tick, and I can't save it or download it. And I'm just like, what is this?
Yeah, it's screenshots. I shouldn't have used that example because I really detest it myself.
No, I get it. I get it. It's just like I get.
But again, we could go on and on with Jason about the story. Let's see what the community like. That's to me what's exciting about 2023 is
we're just very quickly going to look at two more Instagram accounts, and then we'll kind of tie this part up, and then maybe 3-4 questions with Jason. We'll see. So this is Greg Shaw. This is Tora Nerd on Instagram.
Gorgeous.
I love that he's leaned into the sci-fi part with the blasters, you know. This is one of his shots, but let me bring up he's got this one too, where, you know, the Lexion and Core Dune are kind of infiltrating this, like what seems like it could be something like Kali's stronghold or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it could.
It's I mean, and then just, I think it was just today he posted this.
That one is so good. That one's gorgeous. Right? I love that. Oh, it's so good.
Or it might have been yesterday that he posted it, but it was sort of right after I had kind of pulled a lot of the images that I was going to show. But there he's got the head painted up. So he's done a really nice job where I think this is sort of fully painted too. So he's kept the base.
Derek's messaging me. Hold on, let me see what he's saying.
Is he trying to jump on the video?
I don't know. Hold on.
Look at that face.
I don't know.
What a great job.
Let me see.
Whoa, he got a big box. Hold on, see. Holy cow, he got like a huge box from BBTS.
Derek, if you're trying to jump on, mention that in the chat, because I sent the link to Jason.
I don't know what I did.
Not in the chat there. So
I was hoping. I don't know if he's got time to hop on, but he did a whole bunch of awesome customs too. I'd love him to show them off. We're gonna start showing them off at conventions, and we'll have like a little recipe and stuff. So if people want to, duplicate his build, they'll be able to easily like just follow the recipe.
Can you go back to the first shot? So
yes, the first shot of this
you know,
figure?
yeah, with the soft goods. I think that looks amazing. Thanos was mentioning that. Ray was saying, folks love that. Are soft goods something you're considering? I think I know the answer, but yeah,
we aren't considering it right now. If I had to bet, I would say that soft goods is from the Target exclusive Man at Arms. We are going to introduce soft goods whenever we get to the Raven figure, and then Larange. Larange has like a full tunic that's soft goods, but his body type is so different than these. I'm not sure how it's gonna. I don't know if it'll translate well to this particular buck.
Okay.
Cool. I follow.
You can see what it does with it. So
it's amazing. I mean, it looks so cool.
Because
it was a cheap eBay wired cape. It's
really, that's surprising. It looks gorgeous.
Well, I will say that I think this one is better than that Man at Arms. Mattel needs to step up their game when it comes to the.
So another thing that Greg does, he does a lot of the behind the scenes shots. So like talking about this is everything we're talking about, right? This is customizing and toy photography. So this is the behind the scenes. I know that Greg doesn't have a ton of space. I know that Craig doesn't, necessarily go like too crazy with like his dioramas and stuff like that. It's all kind of pieces that come together. So you can see, it's a piece of wood, a backdrop. Now, Greg, is this one of those backdrop pieces that you got printed up at Walmart when they were like on a deal or whatever?
Oh, is that what that is?
Got a bunch of them printed up like on I think it was like on foam core, so that they're rigid enough that they kind of sit properly, and then some trees on cardboard. Like it's to get into toy photography with these two is like, again, same with customizing. We kind of get the idea that like, oh, I could never do a shot like that. Maybe you could. This
is an aside, but this morning when we were doing the Mythic Legions thing, after we were talking, and it's like, wow, we're essentially like doing TV production these days, and it's just it's always amazing to me to think, like we were talking about editing video on your phone, just what we have in our hands. Yeah. And if you go back to Greg's setup shot and the next one, like that is filmmaking. That is
so cool.
It's essentially like a matte painting like they did back in the day in the background. You created the sets, right? You built those sets, and you've got your actor, you put the costume. Like if you think about really what all the work that's going in here, like you're figuring out your lighting, you're setting up your camera. It's pretty amazing stuff what we can do these days. And I don't know. It's just, I think it's a testament to like
we're living in the future, gentlemen.
Yep.
In a lot of ways, right? Brick and I talk about this all the time, how like every time we have to set up for a live video, we're basically setting up a little TV studio in our our home offices or whatever. And it's like, it's one of those funny things where a few years ago, none of this was possible. You know what I mean? Through Facebook, through StreamYard, through YouTube, like all these random things sort of add up to this age of fans creating the content around the products that are created by other fans, and like it's its own ecosystem. Like we all love, like you said, Jason, like we love the nostalgia. Like we're all hung up on several IPs. I know both of you well enough to know that that's true. And so we're still buying that product from Hasbro and from Mattel and whatever, but it doesn't have the same energy anymore, right? Like I feel less
very
inspired.
corporate.
I feel less inspired by those brands to do customizing, to do dio building, to do photography, like to do these videos even. Brick and I have leaned probably more and more over the last few months into AWOK and Legendary and Mythic Legions and like
dude, I love that Legendary line. That looks so cool. Right? I'm so excited for it. It feels like a it feels like a fresh take on Fortnite. I never really got into the Fortnite game, but the characters are so fun and engaging. So it's really cool to see them doing that. I'm happy they made goal, and
I feel like
I'm
it's
excited to see how everything turns out.
I feel like it's that mixed with like a little throwback to like 90s comics when things got a little
Right,
extreme.
exactly. Yeah, that's a good
totally.
Where everything was a little overinflated and kind of
Yes,
blown out of
yeah.
proportion. Like they kind of took the brakes off a little bit, and
they really did.
Like
they
that's
really
cool,
did.
but what if it was translucent? Or like that's cool, but what if it
Right.
was neon?
Yeah.
Or that's cool, but what if it was fire? You know, like just
right.
like,
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, I agree.
Now, Greg, I see your comment, but I don't see the message. So,
but he was saying that it was definitely a Walmart post print. In the back, and then I love it.
That is shocking. That's so cool.
Yeah, and Nolan's like, I would love to have a setup like that, and he's like, you can't. It's all cardboard, and
it's all cardboard.
That's amazing. That's what it is. Movie magic. It really is movie magic.
I'm always inspired and a little bit baffled by how well Greg can use junk.
It's impressive, dude. It's awesome.
Yeah, but what he'll do with like the foam inserts for like appliances and stuff.
Yeah.
He just sees them differently when they come out of the package. You know what I mean? I see them and I'm like, I don't think I could do anything with it. Actually, you know what? I could probably find the shot that I'm talking about because he did a Cosmic Legion shot. Actually, you know what? It's this thing, this background bit here.
Oh, really?
The piece that I'm thinking of, but it's a whole doorway, like it's a whole.
Yeah, it totally looks like a Trade Federation from Star Wars. You know, it looks like their doors, their round doors that
Yep, exactly.
That they have.
This right here.
Oh yeah, that's from the TV foam, right?
I think this one was from a dishwasher, if I'm not mistaken, like a washing machine or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so good.
But I saw the piece of foam beforehand, and I don't know if he's included the foam, but you can see it, right? When you see that, you can see the sort of the foam texture. Which I think is really cool that it's still sort of got elements like that. But yeah, I mean, just the detail work with something that most people throw away, right?
Yep.
And this is, again, going back to what I was saying about, like, you know, using what you find, right? Where it's scraps of stuff that you would normally throw out, right? You don't have to spend a lot to do something like this. You just have to kind of think outside the box a little bit. And I'm not good at it. So don't make this, I'm not trying to say that like I see that piece of foam and I could do what Greg does. What I'm saying is the more you do it, I think you kind of flex that muscle and then you kind of get some strength in that department. So, and Greg does tons of other toy photography that's really, really good as well. Almost all of it is practical as well. So even, even when he has sort of blast effects, sometimes it's actually a laser pointer lighting up.
Oh, really?
That's
cool.
Yeah. So he does lots of cool stuff. But yeah, that's this is right on point for what we were talking about. Now I'm going to share one more Instagram account. I'm going to show Endless Fables Instagram account. He's come up with this custom figure.
Oh, wow,
he shot it
awesome.
outside. So this is Weird, which is a really, really cool figure. He's got some the shield is from Savage Crucible.
Oh yeah, I recognize it now. He must have painted it.
Crossover a little bit. And he does lots of AWOK stuff, toy photography. He does some Joe stuff, some Valaverse stuff. He's got this adorable little, I don't know where Safari Limited Wolf Cub.
That is cute.
It's so cute. But yeah, here's is that video gonna play through? Let's see. We'll let it play through.
Just no audio.
No audio. Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine. Yeah.
Now
I love it, man. I just love how primal. Like
so cool.
That's when I saw these is very.
That thing is awesome.
Giving it giving AWOK some of that rough edges.
Yep.
I didn't realize. So that's where the weapons are from. The shield is from Savage Crucible, like where they released the STL files or something, or is he
No,
working?
they
on
had
that?
some samples at PowerCon.
Oh, they were just selling them.
No, they were giving. I think they were giving them away.
Nice.
They were unpainted samples, I believe.
Right, gray
he
samples. Yep.
painted it out as well. Yeah, and then he's got
Jelly.
the Chunari armor pack on there too. So he's one step ahead of us. But anyway, that's beside the point.
Hey, that's the reward for being at PowerCon. We had a couple to give away.
That's great. Take a look at that face too. So there's this is the head that came in the heads pack, but there's additional paint on the hair, right?
I can't tell. Let's see.
I've
got horrible eyesight.
Yeah,
no,
because
I don't think it's that head actually. I think this is an ancient that got painted up. I think it's the darker the horrid scavenger, I think.
Okay.
So
it's got
that makes sense.
It's very cool.
And I thought he was in the chat, but I can't remember now. But yeah, if Endless Fables is in the chat, feel free to sort of jump in and comment on that.
He was early on.
Oh, he is. Yeah, there he is. And it's his birthday today, so happy birthday!
Hey,
happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
They say it's your birthday. Happy birthday to you.
But yeah, maybe you can let us know. Is that the? I think it's the horrid scavenger. I don't think it's the black ape head. I think he's painted this himself. I think he's maybe used that as inspiration, but done his own thing. I'm trying to get Derek.
Yeah, they were giving weapons to backers. Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, man,
that's a class act right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Yeah, I'm really excited about this stuff. You know, like again, this morning we were talking about Mythic Legions, and it's one thing to talk about the awesome toys that we're getting from the Horsemen, and then it's another thing to talk about all the other great stuff that we're getting from the fans and the customizers, both in terms of painted figures and custom parts. So I'm really excited to kind of see where we see AWOK going with that kind of thing, and even just the mixing in pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I really look up to the Four Horsemen and everything they've done. You know, I keep going back to whenever I was trying to get out of collecting as a young adult, and I remember like the first real seed that was planted in me that I was not going to stop collecting toys even into adulthood was I went to the comic shop to get comics because I was still actively collecting comics at the time, and I saw it was Total Chaos by McFarlane, and it was the wave that had the Corn Boy homage in it, and I looked at it and I was like, I didn't buy any, but I was just like, oh, I think I still like toys and I don't want to stop liking them, you know. So it took me until the Metal Gear stuff came out to where I really jumped back in, but that was like the first little seed of like, you're not gonna stop enjoying toys, so just prepare yourself.
Yeah.
And then he went to make a comic book and then a toy line. That's amazing.
And that was the rest was history. I tell Eric Treadway, I'm like, this is your fault.
Awesome. He probably takes that as a compliment, and he probably gets that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like they really did inspire me. You know,
these days.
Yeah.
Okay, one more account, and then we will wrap up. This is Derek Chandler, who's in the chat.
What's up, my brother? Oh, look, look. Oh man, I love that. I think that's my favorite shot of the ones that he did for that one.
I think that's the Man at Arms one, right?
No, the Man at Arms one is the Onyx is the Onyx Ancient.
There's the Man at Arms one.
Yeah, yes, that one's awesome.
Oh no, both. The cape. The other one is the cape, and then that one.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yep.
I knew that.
Love it. I love that scarf piece on it too. Hey, it's Dan Larson and Robo and.
Is it not? Well, he was at PowerCon. Yeah, we get to live. We get to sort of see his life in the last little bit. He had
Dan Larson uses our weapons quite a lot, so I'm my fingers are crossed to see if we make his his top 10 2023 figures, I'll be very
It's still on the list. The last time I saw.
I'll be very complimented.
I haven't been watching. I don't know. So you're talking about when he kind of mixes them up and pulls things out. And
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know that I've seen the recent ones.
Now Jarek did one that I wanted to pull up, and let me see if I can find it actually in Facebook, because I definitely saved it in Facebook. So
nowhere.
He showed me one last night that I loved. Like, it was the first time that I had seen it, and I was like, okay, I think that's my new favorite that you did. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, that one looks so cool. It was a baboon. It was one of the baboon figures that he put a bunch of the Horde armor on, and I was just like, dude, that was my new favorite.
Maybe I haven't seen
trying
that
not to
one.
hiccup. I'm sorry.
Let me pull this one up here quick. This is one that I absolutely love.
He might not have posted it yet.
Oh, that's entirely possible as well. This is one of my favorites here, and I just have the picture. I don't have another one, but he's used the
yeah,
I love
Belarus arm from the 4-inch deluxe figure, which is still available from SpiroToys.com.
It's on
like
sale. It's super easy to do.
For fodder. Like, come on, that's a no-brainer.
Oh man, like, dude, like, no joke. Like, whenever I first started getting back into customizing, I think I spent $20 on a figure that I just needed the head for, and I was like, I don't even care. I was like, this is a good deal, because I was looking all over for it. Okay, the other cat's hanging out now. So whenever I'm doing any kind of work on the computer, both cats. Here's the other one, huh? My sweet cat, my sweet fat cat. They both come and they have to be nosy.
You might actually get your orange tabby. It might not be yours, but
no,
I'm still pushing for it. I've still got.
I feel like we have to have an orange tabby at some point, right?
There you go.
Oh, you're a happy cat. You're a happy cat.
My version of the orange tabby looks a lot more AWOK, so I'm just.
Oh yeah.
Out there.
It's got to be a little bit beat up.
Yeah.
Tell me about that arm real quick. You said it's easy to do. Do they share like joint size or something, or? I actually don't have some of the original.
It's very similar, and it was just a happy coincidence. We didn't plan it. I saw someone online do that with the scavenger, and I was like, oh, I'm totally going to do that too. And it just surprisingly fits very well. The only thing that's a little loose is the little thing that fits over the chest part. But if you plug it into the back, it sits pretty nicely. And you can always like super glue it. Not super glue it. Do not super glue it. You can hot glue it, so it's easy to take off if you want.
Yeah, so it'll still pop off if you want to.
Exactly.
To the best of my knowledge, and I could be wrong, but to the best of my knowledge, it was Remy Boucher who did it first.
I think you're correct.
But I don't know. That's sort of my understanding. But anyway, like I said, if you sort of go into the AWOK groups and sort of dig around, there's tons more of this stuff. This was just sort of a few examples that I wanted to show. But if you sort of enjoy this stuff and you're not in the group, jump in there. I mean, if you're watching this, you'd probably enjoy being in that group. If you're on Facebook and whatever, jump in there, check it out. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in there.
Yeah, we really want to build the community. I mean, one of the things that is very inspiring about the Four Horsemen is obviously their figures are amazing, but like, I would just absolutely love to have a fan base that's as dedicated to AWOK as the Mythic fans are, So I know it takes a little time to build that up. Wave 1 hit in March? So if I have a certain fault, it's being a little impatient, and I want everyone to know about AWOK right now. But we just kind of got to do the groundwork. So we'll be doing just a ton of conventions in 2024 to kind of get the word out. We've got waves 3 and 4 on display right now at Toy Fair, which will, all these little things will add up and kind of, at some point, hopefully we kind of hit that saturation point where like all of a sudden there's people that are like, where'd this come from? It's just brand new, but we've really been kind of talking about it and trying to get the word out for a year,
Absolutely. I mean, Brick and I are on board. We're
I
doing
mean,
what
I
we
can't
can.
thank you guys enough. Like what y'all are doing is, I think it's inspirational and it makes me feel great. And the quality that you guys do, and you're obviously passionate about it. So it's a huge compliment. And I think if we could get fans as excited as you guys are, we'll be doing fantastic and just kind of be off to the races.
Yeah.
Now,
Do any of y'all say that? Is that a saying that y'all understand?
What,
Yes.
off to the races?
Off to the races?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've used the idiom. Never been to horse race.
I was just curious because like we have like a bunch of racetracks in the area.
Yeah.
So like we say it often,
Yeah.
We have they filmed like a big movie here like a couple of years ago because we have so many racetracks. I don't think it was Seabiscuit. It might have been Seabiscuit, but anyway. There's certain Southern sayings that I say, and I'm worried if it translates. What's that?
Seabiscuit was stabled about half a mile that way.
Okay, then what was it? Maybe it was Secretariat.
Likely.
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Anyway,
just as long
horses,
as you get the analogy.
Animals. Yeah, where's our horse AWOKs, man?
That's something I have to really think about it because it can. I think back to whenever the 2011 Thundercats cartoon came out, they did some really, really awesome reinterpretations and they introduced a bunch of new stuff. Yep. And one of the designs I don't think it ever made it to the show was, I think it was a zebra or a horse. And I felt like it just didn't translate it. It almost reminded me of, the horse from Ren and Stimpy. Like it was unintentionally comical, and I'm sure it was just like very early in the design phase.
Yeah.
So there's one thing where it's like, okay, if I'm going to do this, do I want to make it intentionally funny? Is it going to be like, a race or culture that are kind of like very silly and eccentric? Like I kept thinking, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about the little hermit crab people that were on the recent episodes of Ahsoka, where they're kind of cute and silly. Like, I'm not far enough into the second story arc to really even wrap my brain around it.
All right, we'll pull a few questions, so fire away in the comments. I'm not gonna promise we're gonna get to all of them or any of them. I mean, we'll see. And then we'll wrap up in a few minutes here. But Payne's Toy Sample says hippo.
Say again?
Hippos? Hippopotamus?
So a while back we revealed character designs for an elephant, a rhino, and a hippo. Mm-hmm. So I talked to Adam about the stress and kind of hassle of doing a Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. If we did something, it probably wouldn't be a Kickstarter, but I would love to do an elephant kind of HasLab type thing and offer those two figures similar to that as as you get like a certain amount of backers or whatever. And I'm just kind of like talking out of my head, but whenever you mentioned that character, it did make me think of something where it's like, it's a big giant investment and we're not sure exactly how popular that type of character will be. So it's almost like you lump it in with something that's like this big epic figure that people are going to like jump at. And then you add it on as like an extra thank you for enough people backing the production of that, exciting giant figure.
I think, I mean, from what we've talked about, there's nothing set in stone, but like basically what we've talked about, and I'm sure you talked to other people, it's not like it's just I'm the only one with this information, but you want to do everything. It's just a matter of when it'll make sense and if
exactly, yeah, right.
The elephant is one that I hear all the time, and I think by extension, hippo and rhino. Right. I think it's just a matter of getting to a point where there's room in the budget for a new buck.
Right.
And then once there is, you kind of every new buck kind of opens the door to like 3, 4, 5 different species.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of time.
You know,
Jesse asks, will there someday be an orangutan? There's Laranya. We kind of touched on that figure, potentially having soft goods.
Right.
But again, I think it's under that, once there's enough interest in, the bucks that would work with that,
Right.
or sorry, the species that would work with that buck, right?
Right. Like, so whenever we designed L'Orange, I designed a walrus and a warthog using that buck. So it's going to be, it'll get good use, and it'll be multiple fun figures. I really like the idea of different body types. I find it very interesting, especially on toys. That variety of life just makes it feel so much more interesting.
100%.
This one comes up all the time, even in our conversations, because I really want tails. Star says tails. I think there's some species that warrant it, but Jason?
So I decided, like, just as an artistic decision, not to do the tails. There are some reasons, like toy-wise, but at the end of the day, they are people. They're humans, so they're very chimera type things. But it's not to say that we might not have some sort of toy that has a tail. And there's a character in issue 5 that has a tail type of appendage, but it's not literally a tail. So there's not going to be
like thinking about what species it's going to be and like how it's
right.
going to show up. I've seen
it. It's
awesome.
fun. It's a fun. This character is like the last recruit to Pale's team. So like, in issue 6, he'll have like a fully formed team that's doing what they do. Let's see here, a walrus. Yeah, we designed a walrus at the same time that we did L'Orange. So and it's actually designed to be an army builder. So whenever we get around to making it, hopefully it'll be something that people will want to army build.
Greg asks about smaller characters: ferrets, Wolverine, not werewolves, ferrets, wolverines, badgers, etc. I think you said different size bucks. It's just a matter of when that kind of makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
So I will say that the last team member on Pale's team is a smaller character, so it will lend itself. That buck will lend itself to smaller figures, or smaller in stature, I should say. But it'll be the same correct scale.
Yeah. Stars says, I'm thinking that insectoids and fish could really open up some dark doors, narratively speaking. Get a little.
We're planning on
slimier,
we are planning on introducing insects and fish in the second story arc. But I don't know how big a role there will be. I know they're going to be visiting a fish village at some point in issue 2. So you're definitely going to have them introduced. Let's see. Yeah.
When you say issue 2 of the new arc, you're saying?
I should say the second arc. I'm sorry. The second arc.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just says fish are
so evil. Those darn fish. Never turn your back on a fish. I'll tell you what.
If there's another question in here about anything that's not, is this species going to be in, I'll pull that up, but I'll sort of keep it open for a minute. Otherwise, we'll kind of wrap it up here. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been fun. Jason, it was great to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Your internet worked this well for
it worked out pretty good, right?
It did.
There was no lag. You didn't drop off
at
any point. There was only
I think I might have found a good spot in the house.
Exactly.
So we can do this more often.
Moments where it was kind of choppy.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's been fun, man, and we've been trying to sort of wait out, internet issues and sort of figure out time-wise when it was going to work and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Let's put a bow on it. Let's wrap it up, because I think I think we've covered our topic, and I think we've had a good chat. As I said, we've got a very recent episode of AWOK Talk that just went up on Brick's channel, so check that out. We got another one coming up very soon. stay tuned for more of these. We do these basically the first Sunday of every month.
Yeah.
In my regular Sunday time of 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Jason, anything else you wanna say to people while they're hanging out?
Yeah, we're gonna be in Dallas in October. I think it's the Dallas Fan Expo. I can't remember the exact dates, but we will post them up as soon as we find out. You know what? I guess I could use my handy computer to look it up real quick if you guys want to give me just a second. I believe it's the 22nd and the 21st, or the 21st and the 22nd. Let's see here. Fan Expo. Let me see. The cat's laying on the keyboard. So it's going to be October 20th through the 22nd. So if you're in the Dallas area, please swing by. We might have a couple of PowerCon exclusives left over. So if you didn't pick that up, at the show or online, you could pick them up there. In November, we will be doing the Massachusetts Toy Fair as well as Legions Con, and we will be wrapping up the year's conventions in Los Angeles on December 1st at LA Comic Con. So we're super excited about all that. We'll be revealing some really cool stuff, both with AWOK and other stuff that's not AWOK related. So we'll kind of be dipping our toe into a new toy line, and hopefully in early 24 we'll be able to make a big announcement about an additional toy line that we're working on that we're very, very excited about. So yeah, we got all kind of cool stuff going on, and we really appreciate all you guys' support, and we'd love to see you in person. So if you're going to be in the area for any of those conventions, please stop by.
Brick,
nice.
You up to anything later this afternoon?
Yeah, in about 38 minutes or so, we're gonna do the Brick Something News. I'm joined by Machu Toy today, which is dope. And we're gonna look at actually some of the customs that we looked at today, as well as some other stuff. And you mentioned that another episode of AWOK Talk kind of at some point. I'm gonna stick to the schedule, man. So 2 Sundays from now, over on my channel, you'll see the first part of a multi-part interview that we did with Utama, who did the art and worked with Jason to kind of like transform what was up in this dude's brain into a visual design that they could then sculpt from. And it was just amazing talking to him about like his background and how that all kind of like feeds into this line that in a very weird,
I hope he talks about how we met.
Serendipitous way.
He did a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
So
that's just wild serendipity, right? Holy cow.
That's the word that came up.
That word came up, yes.
And I don't know if you're aware, but there were some things that he'd worked on earlier in his career that actually have come back. Some lions and some other things. It's weird.
I can't remember now.
That's fine. We're teasing it for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Over on my channel, AWOK Talk. Check it out. It'll be a multi-part.
I'm excited about it.
We covered a lot.
Literally, I don't think there was another person on the planet better suited than Utama.
Right? We kept talking about that. We were just like, man, our brains are like synced up. It was so crazy, you know?
Yeah.
So it just worked out so good. I really hope he comes to the States soon, you know?
Yeah,
because
cool.
Well, if he does, I'm not letting him leave. Like I'll just like I'll put a ankle monitor on him so he can't leave, you know?
That's called trafficking. But yes, so I think so that'll be happening at 4:30, and then AWOK Talk in 2 weeks, and that's pretty much it. Just doing the shorts, doing turnarounds. I'll probably do a turnaround on this version of Cordoon soon, just because it's dope. And that's it, man.
Deserves it.
That's it. So I'm happy you were on today. I'm happy we were able to talk a little bit more, and
me too.
The internet worked out. It was great.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I hope you all have a great week.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, I'm going to say, thank you to everybody for coming and hanging out. It's always a pleasure. It's always fun to do these. It's always great to have cool people in the chat hanging out with us as well. Because it's about the community. It's about hanging out, talking toys with our friends, and just nerding out about this stuff, right? So if you enjoyed the video, please like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And if you want to stay up to date with everything, hit that notification button. We will see you all again, hopefully, very, very soon. Bye-bye. Great show, fellas.
That was fun. I'm so glad my internet kept working.